You are watching the Global Gamers Invitational Tournament brought to you by iFixit. SCVs for the real world. The Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. And Esports United, sponsored by Intel. This broadcast is also made possible by IC Cup TV, TeamLiquid.net, and of course, Blizzard Entertainment. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Global Gamers Invitational. This is Mac. I am here with Railcoon, and we at IC Cup TV are proud to bring you what is Game 4 between Strelok, masquerading as softball, and his opponent Strelok, the Blue Terran. We are here on Scrap Station. Strelok winning the previous match on Lost Temple, a nice long macro game, and now it is Zerg choice, which explains why we're here on Scrap Station. So Strelok not only needs to win the rest of his games, but he's got to do it on Zerg-friendly maps.
And this is a good choice by Sen, I think, because, you know, if you get really good position with your spine crawlers in this choke point, you can really shut down Hellion harassment to both bases at the same time until he can break down that destructible debris. He did get the unfavorable spawn here with the imbalance on this map where it takes one extra creep tumor to get your creep down at the bottom of the ramp. Just a little thing. But if Strelok goes aggressively for a Hellion opener this time, instead of waiting for that pre-igniter, then that could wind up playing into his favor. Because right now, he's spawned at the 12 o'clock position on Scrap Station, and he realizes that he has this advantage. So we'll have to see if he actually changes his build to take full advantage of that, or if he's just going to stick with his normal pre-igniter opening, maybe go for a drop on these close air positions.
I think that definitely can factor a lot in on this map. It takes a lot longer to get the creep all the way down to that nice choke point where your spine crawlers can really make a difference. And given Strelok's propensity for Hellions, giving every Terran's propensity for opening with Hellions, I think it's quite likely that's what we're going to see. However, once again, a 14 hatchery for Sen hasn't really gone wrong so far. Going to see a similar 14 spawning pool. Waiting to see it right now. There it is. So here we are once again, same build orders from all these players, no one mixing things up. This is the Global Gamers Invitational, and I do want to thank those sponsors right now before things get exciting. They are iFixit, SCVs for the real world, Esports United, sponsored by Intel, and last but not least, the Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds, including guys like me and Railcoon, and I'm guessing the vast majority of our listeners.
Yeah, so the spawning pool is on the way, with the extractor going to be finishing shortly before that. So Sen's just transitioning very normally with this hatch first build that he started off with. No reason not to drop the hatch first on Scrap Station. Just because the long rush distance, you can definitely get away with it. With the new patch as well, you're going to be even less afraid of any sorts of shenanigans on this map. And Strelok is actually going to go for the 1 Rax expand. He did get the gas first, so he will be looking to drop a factory very shortly. We've seen him do this earlier in the series, in the first game. It was on a map that he was having a hard time defending his natural with the bunkers on Metalopolis. And he'll be able to use this same sort of narrow choke point to defend his natural with that Sen's going to be using. So I think he's probably going to do a little bit better with the build this time. Probably see him move into those pre-igniter Hellion drops, because that's what he did with this build the first time, and that would be just so good on this map.
Yeah, a nice short air distance, easy to drop the Hellions inside your opponent's base. You can similarly run them in or drop them on the high ground near the natural and get those Hellions inside the expansion. So both of those strategies definitely available. We are, however, seeing a tech lab down in the barracks, so I think we are going to be seeing Infernal Hellions as opposed to Reactor Hellions. This is pretty consistent with what we've seen in the past, and I'm not even remotely surprised. So both players playing so typically given this map. We are getting a fast lair and only the 1 gas so far from Sen, so probably going to transition pretty soon, get an extra 3 extractors and go Mutalisks. That's really what we're used to seeing on this map. Zerg players grabbing that 3rd expansion, pushing the creep up the middle, harassing with Mutalisks, and just trying to out-expand the Terran player.
Yeah, so he does get that extra creep tumor down. He is going to be able to expand the creep and start dropping some spine crawlers to protect his front. He should still be able to cover that and his main base as well. See if he drops another strength crawler into his mineral line this time. Because that's what he seemed to have been doing last game to prepare for those pre-igniter drops that he'd been dealing with the first two games. He put an extra spine crawler into his mineral line. Does not look like he's actually going for it this time when Strelok is building this starport and apparently gearing up for a drop. So we'll have to see how much damage Strelok can do here, because if he can go on to another good drop here, killing a ton of Zerglings and a good number of drones like we saw in Game 1, on this map, he should be able to hold off the counterattack.
Yeah, Strelok now up to 3 Hellions, and they look like they're moving out despite the fact that that dropship almost complete. They are catching a few of those early Zerglings, but I don't think he was expecting that. He lost the first Hellion, forced to retreat to his bunker. He's now 1 Hellion short, and we'll have to make a 3 Hellion drop, it looks like.
Yeah, and that was literally like 3 seconds before pre-igniter finished. So that was just poor luck there by Strelok that those Zerglings happened to run into him the moment before that upgrade finished. Because if he had pre-igniter, he would have been able to shut that down really easily. Sen moving those Zerglings up to a really great position. He saw that drop incoming with all of these overlords, and he's able to completely shut down this pre-igniter drop. And that's going to make it a little bit tough on Strelok, because without doing any damage with those Hellions, Sen is going to have a really good drone count as we move into the mid game.
Yeah, notice once again we have those overlords on the outer perimeter of the Zerg base, throwing down that creep to give the Zerglings more speed on the Hellions trying to run perimeters. And right now, Sen in a fantastic position. Both players on 2 bases, both players similar resource incomes. The real advantage, however, is the map control that Sen enjoys. He can grab that 3rd base uncontested, and there's no way Strelok can leave his base until he has enough tanks and Thors to do so. And that is what he needed to do, was harass, kill drones, put the Zerg player behind, but we're going to see a 3rd expansion very soon, and he's going to be powerless to stop it.
Yeah, and it's just going to be a really good spot here for Sen in this game, with just being able to make as many drones as he wants. Surprisingly, he did not make a whole lot in that window where I think he would have been able to make a whole ton. He's just made a lot of Zerglings and is pumping out Mutalisks instead. So he was gearing up to get a really good containment army going, and just make sure that Strelok has absolutely no ability to leave his base, like you said, and probably use that time where he has him stuck in his base to start cranking out drones like nobody's business, because we do see a lot of them appearing on the production tab now. So he is taking a really good economic advantage here.
Sen is moving in with that first batch of Mutalisks. I believe the number is 9. He catches the SCVs building turrets, easily able to take those down, and the Thor is not yet in position. There it is, firing, takes out a few Mutalisks, and Sen forced to fall back, taking with him 2 towers and several SCVs. Now 53 over 39. This is exactly what Strelok was afraid of. He does have the Thors, but good Mutalisk control will allow Sen to contain this Terran player, force him to stay inside, kill anything exposed. And I noticed this. There is a medevac with a Thor carrying it to the expansion. He knows those Mutalisks are coming. He's already got the Thor in position. So that's a really, really nice anticipation by Strelok. Well played. Is going to lose that 1 supply depot, but still, the danger is not that he's going to lose more SCVs. The danger is that he's lost them already, and that he isn't just powerless to grab that 3rd expansion.
Yeah, and that's going to be really... I like that move there by the Thor in the medevac. Just because if you look at it, the ground distance he'd have to walk to get over there is pretty long. And with the medevac, he can just fly directly over the cliff, get there very quickly, match the mobility of those Mutalisks with a good counter unit. And I do like that he's getting this upgrade. You don't see it a whole lot, but you've seen Sen do a lot of damage to Mutas so far. So he's getting the turret range upgrade. It actually upgrades very quickly. If you look at it, 80 seconds, which winds up being just about a minute real time. And it's relatively cheap, and it'll allow him to not have to make as many turrets to hold off this huge number of Mutalisks that he's seen in the previous games.
Plus it buffs the Planetary Fortress, and what Terran player wouldn't like a better Planetary Fortress? That's a good decision. As you said, we don't see it often, but nicely done. And as you see, Sen is no longer able, he's been probing the exteriors of the Terran base, isn't finding anything exposed, so all he's doing now is just keeping control of the map. Notice he's grabbed that 4th expansion, he's now at the gold, and he has Zerglings camped at that third base for the Terran player. No one camped at the fourth base. I take that back. Now there's an Overlord, so impossible for the Terran to expand. He is building a command center, obviously intends to land it somewhere, but already it's too late. There's that third base out for the Zerg. He can push his creep forward as much as he wants, and it's going to be tough for him to keep up an economy. So there needs to be an attack fairly soon, and from personal experience on Scrap Station, working your way into a Zerg base, either through the rocks or around the long side, is never a fun experience.
But look in the main of Sen, 4 Pre-Igniter Hellions dropping in there, killing a good number of drones, forcing the rest to retreat, getting a couple more on retreat before they get taken down by the Mutiling. That was a nice drop by Strelok, even though Sen's got like complete map coverage. If you look at his Overlords, he should have seen that incoming, just was not looking. So good drop there by Strelok. It's the sort of thing that he needs to do to get back into this game, because if you look at his army, he's got 4 tanks, 4 Thors, and 4 Hellions, and that's about it. He really has no capability of leaving his base besides securing a new expansion, because he really just cannot stand up very well to Sen right now. He needs the extra defensive structures to be backing him up at this point.
You'll see the SCV here laying down missile turrets, so he's not attacking the Zerg base, merely taking his own. Normally that would be enough, but like I said, that gold expansion already up. He'll start saturating that soon. And just beautiful Overlord coverage everywhere. So looking at the vision of Strelok, he is very contained. He sees his bases, has no idea where the Mutalisks are. Compare that to Sen. The only thing he doesn't know is what's directly inside the bases. So they have almost complete inverse map vision right now.
And one thing that Sen might be able to do here is actually just break open the rocks here and make it much, much tougher for Strelok to hold this base. Because with this back path being open, it opens a whole new avenue. Yeah, there we go. He is going to move these roaches over here. And it's going to give him really excellent positioning on this map. So where Strelok can't just park right here next to his planetary fortress, he's going to have to back up, try and cover both. And with him spreading his creep really effectively so far, he'll be able to really just outmaneuver him by coming in from 2 different routes. And if he really makes use of this, it's going to make it really tough on Strelok.
The Ventral Sax upgrade almost complete. This will give Sen access to even more bases, as well as drops level 2 weapons and armor almost done. He's got those nice high energy infestors with the fungal growth, tons of lings, tons of roaches, and he is broken through. But yes, I saw that too. A million Mutalisks going down. A huge blunder. I hate to use that word, but that's what that was. Mutalisks being just thrown away. And here comes this big engagement, a very, very important engagement. The Roach is getting inside, getting a nice concave ready, and they are going to engage. Infestors being a bit miscontrolled, it seems, but they get the fungal growth down. The Thors and tanks are mobilized. There's nothing to stand up for the Roaches. The Roaches are now loose on the Terran mech. I don't think there's going to be enough Thors to do this. Tons of eggs going down. A million infested Terrans are going to spawn, and it's going to be tight. The Roaches are still standing, however. The infested Terrans are toast. And look at the rest of Strelok's forces, are toast. No more siege tanks, only a few Hellions, and they can't even touch those Roaches. Good burrow. Well played by Sen.
Yeah, and that burrow against just the Hellions, they're not really able to outdamage that very effectively. So that was a nice move, allowed him to kill a couple more Hellions there. And just look at how many forces are streaming forward by Sen. There's a ridiculous number of roaches that just popped out for a follow-up attack. Doesn't seem like there's any way that Strelok's going to be able to hold off this second wave. Just all 4 bases kicking in here for Sen, just completely overrunning Strelok. And he will take the series 3-1 as Strelok gives the GG. So, some great games. But that last one just, it shows with the strategy that Strelok was going for on this map, if you just stay in your base for too long versus a Zerg player on Scrap Station, he's just going to completely out-macro you.
And, people talk about lots of bases being a threat because of economic reasons, but it just goes to show Strelok got his army completely destroyed. Same goes for the Roaches. They were killed to the last Roach. But what comes knocking on his door 20 seconds later? 46 Roaches.
Yeah.
Right? That is what happens when you have 4 hatcheries with queens injecting in them, all producing Roaches at the same time. And his army, 185 supply, despite being completely wiped out a few minutes early. So beautifully played by Sen. Strelok gets one win, but nowhere near enough. Sen takes the series 3-1, will be advancing to the round of 8 of the Global Gamers Invitational. And all we have left to see is Idra versus Kapoch, and I'm very much looking forward to that match. I know you all are too, so be sure to tune in. We'll have that coming hopefully within the next couple of days.